Hey, good morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution episode 1212, 1212. Happy Thursday. Hey, yesterday I said it's Wednesday, it's trash day. The trash is at the curb. About lunchtime, I look out, I'm like, I don't think they've picked up the trash. Look down the street, trash has not been picked up. Oh, probably hasn't been picked up because it's Juneteenth. Post offices are closed, banks are closed, trash pickup also closed. So the entire neighborhood had their trash out at the curb, so it'll be picked up today. So happy Thursday. I bought more cards. I had mentioned when it rains, it pours. Picked up all the vintage this past weekend. My buddy Steve has another collection for me. That's what I picked up last night. He sends me a text. He's like, the guy that I bought a lot of this from, he's got some other stuff. I'm not interested. Here's his contact info. Then I get a call from the Singles Club. I'm not going to be at the National in Cleveland this year. And the Singles Club has a whole bunch of cards that they haven't sleeved yet. They're like, I just don't have, I'm not going to have time to get these added to our inventory for the National. So do you want to buy? There's about 50,000 serial numbers, refractors, all that stuff that normally would be in the Singles Club inventory at the National, but it just, he doesn't have time to get this stuff added to the inventory. And I'm like, okay. So we talked last night on the phone. Chris gave me a little insight into what's their price. So they're in, are they in North Dakota, South Dakota? They're in the Dakotas. Can't remember where Chris is at. It's one of the Dakotas, north or south. And so Madison is kind of right on their way, no matter where they go, eastward to the National, Chicago, Cleveland, Atlantic City. So he's like, so we're going to be driving down. He's like, we'll be heading down I-90. Can meet you either the Sunday or Monday before the National. So that kind of fell in. So that'll be a month, a little over a month away from that. When it rains, it pours. Inventory coming everywhere, but man, sales. Vintage has been flying out of my store. Check it out, 99centcards.com. Buy 7 or more items at regular price. You'll save 25% off at checkout. 99centcards.com. A lot of vintage. Added some 76 Topps football. Didn't even know. I'm looking through, and there was a Jack Lambert rookie. $20. Boom, sold right away. Ron Jaworski rookie. Brian Sipe rookie. I'm like, I had to look up who are the rookies, because I don't know, these 70s. I know the big names in football and basketball. I know the baseball rookies, but when it comes to football and basketball, I don't know. Like that George Gervin, I had no idea that was a rookie. No idea what it was worth. So I think that's been the most fun about all this 70s vintage stuff is I'm learning a lot. And one of the biggest things I've learned is how liquid some of this stuff is. So thank you. I know a lot of you. I see a lot of familiar names coming up on the orders. So thank you for shopping my store. There's still about 13,000 more to be listed. So I think I've got a few football that I picked that I paid $1 for. And then the rest is from the Sunday bulk. But there's a lot of, as I was sorting the bulk, there's a lot of stuff that I would have paid $1 for, had I known, in hindsight. So that's been fun. Picked up more cards last night. I'll get into that. I'll share. Do I have the box? Yes, I have one of the boxes that I picked up that I just wanted to show off. So it's been fun. Big day for Biscuit. We go to the doggy cardiologist today. Get another echocardiogram on her. She's been really good. we went for a walk. She wanted to go for a long walk. And it's like, yeah, we gotta. So that's good. That's what we want. We want Biscuit to go on long walks. I don't want to, I mean, I'll talk to the vet today and okay, obviously if it's 90 and humid, we don't want to go for a long walk, but can we go for a longer walk when it's reasonable in temperatures? So we saw Rosie and the Chihuahuas on our walk. Biscuit had no interest, which is just like her, which is normal. So she's been acting normal. She had the zoomies. My wife yelled down, "Come up here. Biscuit has the zoomies." So that's good to see the zoomies wanting to go for walks, wanting to go for long walks, getting her bone. So just a 180 from how she was feeling on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which was just awful to witness, watching your dog be in pain and just not good. So that's good news. Hopefully hopefully we keep up and she can live as long as possible. I wish it was forever. It just absolutely sucks that dogs have such short lifespans. What else is going on? Still battling these. I had a sneeze attack this morning. And I looked online, the pollen, but I don't understand. Can somebody help me with allergy pollen count? Because whenever I Google, I come up to different websites. So I went to pollen.com, which I figure is the most accurate. I'm going to have so many, now that I'm talking out loud, Facebook's listening, I'm going to have all the Claritin and all this shit's going to be popping up on my Google ads. I go to pollen.com. I figure that's probably the most accurate. It doesn't seem to be, at least with my allergies. So I went to pollen.com. I think this was yesterday or the day before. And it's like low pollen today. And I'm like, well, I'm sneezing my ass off. And I went to another web like AccuWeather or weather.com, one of those. And it's like the tree pollen is very high. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe it was grass pollen. Something was super high, like very high in the red. And I'm like, well, that's probably what is triggering my allergies, whatever that was, grass or tree, I can't remember. But we still have like the pollen floating like snow through the air. So I don't know. But I need to make a Hy-Vee run today. Metro Market doesn't have. I'm going to try the local honey first because my allergies have been, and it seems like year in, year out, it seems like I know I always complain. It seems like I always complain about my allergies, but sometimes it's worse. Like I don't ever recall having this bad of allergies in June. And I'm sure I have, but it's not on a regular basis. I don't want to take allergy medication. It doesn't work, but it doesn't work because I don't take it like I think if you take it every day, it's going to work. But I don't want to do that. So I'm going to try the honey trick, the local honey. We'll try that before I pop any more pills. So we'll see. Allergies, man, it's like, gosh, these freaking allergies. Like it's like, like my head, sneezing, blowing my nose. Kyle says pollen counts are kind of biased. I live in the woods amongst cottonwoods. Pollen counts often say low, yet it looks like it's snowing here. Honey and herbal teas help me. No big pharma or doctors. I like it. We're on the same wavelength. Yeah. So we have a cottonwood. There must be a cottonwood. There's not one in my backyard, but it's got to be like in my neighbor's yard. Because I mean, it looks like there was a photo I took last week, and it looked like a fresh snowfall. The pollen floating in the air was so bad last week, and it's like it just like fuck. I was trying to sit outside on the patio just to get some fresh air last week or 2 weeks ago, and pollen's just floating and just it's like Jesus. And it's floating into our garage. I had to get the leaf blower and blow all this, which I'm sure helped. You know what? What day was that? That's probably what triggered this latest, because it was over the weekend that I got this in. It was Saturday that I blew out the garage of the pollen. Motherfucker. I bet that's what it was. And so this year, Zach's blaming it on the mushroom coffee. I don't blame it on the mushroom. Maybe it is. I mean, who knows? It could be. But my old neighborhood, we didn't have this pollen in my old neighborhood. And we didn't move into this house until the end of July last year. So this is new territory for me. So, I was here, but, when I was here, it was like brief, like an hour, 2 hours at a time, not like living. So hopefully I can kick these freaking allergies. Madison Card Show is this Saturday. We are sold out, 135 tables this Saturday, Madison Card Show. I do have, I've got a few people. I do have some openings because I have like 50 on the wait list, but I have a few open tables. So some of my semi-regulars have reached out, and I think I'm waiting on, I got him. Trying to see. Make sure. Okay, so I've got a couple open tables there, a couple there, and a couple there. So I've got a few people that I need to reach out to. So Madison Card Show this Saturday. I'm planning not to buy. I've got too much right now. I don't need any more. I don't need to sit on any more. But of course, if the right deal comes along, I will buy. But I'm not actually looking. I'm not actually looking. Famous last words. And I've got Dimebox Dell setting up this weekend. So he's always got some good stuff. And sometimes I end up buying 4 rows from him. I think that's about all. Let's go to the chat. Johnny Boy Cards is here. Good morning. Peter's in the house. What's happening? Kyle, good morning. Sometimes a guy gets in buying mode. Yeah, and sometimes it just happens. And I think there is truth behind that buying mode though, because it's and especially if you find something good, it triggers you. I always say, always be looking. How come I never find anything like that? Because you're not looking, or you're not looking hard enough. Always. You're not always looking. You got to always be looking. Always be looking. And I think it just triggers I've been more proactive looking lately based on this vintage. It's like, oh, if I can find this, it's like, and now it's addicting. And so you get a big win here. I want to go find more big wins. And, sometimes you just kind of, and I get stuck in this trap where it's like, well, this is my lane. I'm going to buy bulk quarter boxes and dollar boxes. That's my lane. But if the price is right, like it was this past weekend, vintage, not my lane. Well, it is now. And so that's something that with the success I've had with this vintage, okay, I'm going to be looking out. Now, am I going to go look for PSA 9 George Brett rookies and Terry Bradshaws? No, but I'm going to be a little more conscious of what's out there. I'm not going to pass by the vintage like I normally would. So that's kind of, I'm going to give it a little more thought where it's, because my thought, I didn't know, I just didn't do my due diligence looking up values of some of these cards. And so in my eyes, this is probably a $5 card. So it's like, well, I'm not going to pay $20 for it. Well, in fact, it could be a $75 card, and a $20 would have been a great deal. So now that I know a little bit more of this, as I, dig through and price and comp and all that, I have a better understanding of some of these values. So I won't miss out on deals that, I could potentially pass. It could be a George Gervin rookie for $20. It's a $75 card, or a Jack Lambert for $3 and it's a $20 card, where I'm going to be a little more conscious of the vintage market when I'm out and about, whether it's online or at a show. Where are we at? Steve's in the house. Good morning. I'm through my bottle of water already, but it's because I was up early, did some shipping this morning, still trying to play catch up. If you did order some of this vintage, I know some orders will go out today. They were packaged up and labeled yesterday, but the post office, no mail yesterday. So they'll be taken today. Today's probably going to be a 2 post office trip, just because I'm going to be shipping all day today, and I shipped all day yesterday. So just going to be one of those days. Todd, what's going on? Good morning. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Victor, what's up? Go Cubs, 2 in a row. I was a little worried because the Cubs won. Today's Thursday. Tuesday night, the Cubs won. So yesterday I wore my Bob Ross W shirt. He's painting the W, the happy little W. And I'm like, oh, it's a day game. I hope I'm not going to jinx it, because the Cubs haven't had too many 2-game win streaks this year. They haven't strung together 2 wins very often. And it's like, man, I don't know if I should wear this shirt. It's a 120 game, which I was happy because I was in here so I could have the game on. And it's 6-1. I'm like, okay, this 5 runs I think is enough. Barely. Grand slam. Bullpen gives up a grand slam. It's 6-5. Cubs pull it out and get the win. So 6-5 win, despite the bullpen's attempts to sabotage another game. And yes, I agree with Victor. I'm a little biased here. I think it's time to give Ethan Roberts a chance. Our bullpen does need help. Yes, I agree 100%. They did bring up, it was wacky. They brought up Keegan Thompson a few days ago. And when they brought up Keegan Thompson, I'm like, okay, Ethan's probably out, because he had the opt-out this past weekend. And they're like, yeah, we're going to add you to the 40-man. Okay, awesome. So they brought Keegan up like Friday or Saturday. He had a baby. Well, his wife did, but he helped. So he's on paternity. He gets the save. It's like, hey, maybe Keegan is an option as a closer instead of Nervous Neris, heart attack Hector. And so Keegan goes on the paternity list, and they bring up Porter Hodge. It's like, oh, this would have been a good time for Ethan. But I get it. Ethan's only pitched like, 9? He hasn't thrown in a game. He hadn't thrown in a game for 2 years. And he's only pitched in 10 games. So I do understand the Cubs are doing their due diligence. They realized, okay, rightfully so, because he's a great pitcher. But he does need to get more work in before he goes up to Chicago, in my opinion. And what do I know? But I think that's what the Cubs think. I think, let's get him some more work. It's been 2 years. Let's give him a little bit more time in AAA. And I think Ethan would even admit that he's behind, because he wasn't pitching very much in spring, if at all, in spring training. So, he's basically a month to 5 weeks behind what his normal schedule would be. Probably almost 2 months behind. So, he's kind of like, it's the start of the season for him here in the middle of June. David, what's up? Good morning. George in the house. What's going on? Philly Joe is here. Happy. It's not Friday. It's Thursday. God, I hope it's Thursday. Man, if it's Friday, I'm fucked. Zach and Porter, what's going on? Cooter here. What's going on? Good morning. Holmes in the house. What's going on? Zach and Porter says, did you find a Jordan rookie? No, I did not. You can buy Jordan rookies from estate sales and sell at your shows. Look for Jordan rookies. That's really good advice. That is really good advice. That sounds like something low. That's really good advice like Low Roller Scratcher would give me. Lewis, what's going on? Good morning. got into some vintage cards at a local auction. Some guys were getting 5,000 card lots for as low as $30. Some of those local auctions, like in person, a lot of them are doing online now, which I understand. You can get a wider audience, much wider audience online. But if you go local, you've got a lot less competition. Instead of thousands, you have tens, tens of people. And that's something I need to be more cognizant is auctions. Cause I've also pulled some of my 70s lots, and they were common lots, were from local auctions. And like I wasn't quite getting 5,000 for $30, but I was getting, I was paying about a nickel a card, and they were they weren't beaters. They were in good shape. James in the house. What's up? Lots of white borders in the main thread flagship tops. Interesting. Talked about the pollen. Mikey's in the house. Good morning. Did you know you still have the 3 or more cards for 15% off sale in your store? I do. Yes. I actually restarted that just recently. I call that the Cooter sale, because Cooter had struggled finding 7 cards or more. And at one time I did have the 3 or more for 15% off. And so it's been reinstituted. It's the Cooter sale. So yes. Zach says, maybe the mushroom coffee is making your allergies worse. Just saying. Red Light 34, good morning. Gundy's here. What's happening? What did we buy? So today, last night's buy was not as exciting. Certainly not as exciting as the weekend. It was, and I'll dive into this here in a bit. It was probably the average bulk buy that I pick up. Nothing crazy. Just your average bulk buy, but maybe a little better because there's a lot of autos, but they're like dollar autos. Basically, what I picked up, and as I went through it, a lot of stuff that is going to be good for like a $1 box at a card show, some decent inventory for my eBay store, but nothing that's really going to, blow my socks off. Just some decent players. I've gone through a box, some Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes that'll go to my buyer. So that's instant money right there. I pulled a few Brady's, Brady lots. I'll put those in a lot. Some other stuff that eventually. Oh man, that's a good yawn. Eventually, when I do some more player lots, like Emmitt Smith, Ken Griffey, Otani, stuff like that. Mr. Archer, what's up? Zach wants to know, did Max block me? I ask because dude hasn't been around since your vintage buy. No, we haven't seen Max in a while, have we? No, he has not been in the chat. I'm not sure. Maybe he's sleeping in. Where's Max? Mikey says, I hit a Ronda Rousey Disco Gold Prism of 10 last night in a break for $12. I'm a huge fan of Rousey since I was in junior high and her in the UFC. That's a nice hit. Who got you into wrestling? That's a really good question because I honestly don't know the answer. And my dad hated professional wrestling. Like he would mock my watching of professional wrestling. He just hated it. It was hard. So I grew up in the Hulkamania era. So wrestling was pretty mainstream, like as I was a little kid, with the Rock and Wrestling connection of the mid 80s, and Hulkamania, running wild, brother. Some of the first wrestling I remember watching was with it'd be my brother-in-law and my nephew. So my sister's much older than me. I'm sure she would love that I say that she's much older than me. So my sister, she's like 19 years older than I am. And so, no, my sister's 20 years older than I am. And because my sister was 20 when she had my nephew, my oldest nephew. So we were the same. I'm like 6 weeks older than my nephew, my oldest. And so we grew up, we were more like first cousins than uncle nephew. Which it was his second wedding that I skipped the reception on Saturday. So I think my first memories of watching pro wrestling was with my nephew and my brother-in-law in the late 80s, like as little kids. I remember renting like WrestleMania from it was Family Video. I don't think we had Blockbusters in our area. Family Video. So I think it was my brother-in-law and my nephew. My nephew, I guess my nephew wouldn't, but my brother-in-law probably introduced it to me. And then, oh man. And then I think in the early 90s, WWF Superstars was on. I got into Saturday Night Live. Probably I was like 10 or 11, and I would stay up late on Saturday nights, watch Saturday Night Live. And then WWF Superstars would come on after. So at like midnight. And I would watch WWF Superstars in like 90. This would be like 1993. And then I dabbled, and then I really got into it a year later. One of the friends that I talk about often from my childhood, Brandon, he's the Larry Johnson and he was the Larry Johnson, Barry Sanders collector that had awesome player collections of those guys. Him and his dad were really big into WWF, and I learned, like, his dad was telling me all about Iron Mike Sharp because he was still wrestling at this point in time and wrestled when my buddy's dad was a kid watching. So that would have been in 94. And that kind of spurred, like when I was watching with them, that really took my wrestling fandom to the next level. And I got into wrestling magazines. I was following the independent scene, like the USWA and the Smoky Mountain, Jim Cornette's organization in the mid 90s. And then my friends made fun of me because it wasn't cool. But then the Attitude Era came on and it was cool. And now everybody's watching wrestling. And I'm like, welcome to the bandwagon. So that's how I got into wrestling. Mikey says, I'm in a buying mode right now from trying to rebuild my PC while I can. There you go. Zach says, I think there are two factors changing your opinion. The money buy, also the speed in which it moves. That's exactly what it is. You nailed it, 100%. The latter being vitally important. Yes, the quick flip is huge. I would agree with this entire paragraph. The speed in which it moves is the most important factor, because it could sell, but if I have to wait 6 months for it to sell, that kind of defeats the purpose. Yeah, it's nice, but I'm more of a short-term flipper when it comes to this stuff. Like, I want to, that's why I'm priced low on a lot of things, because I want to cash out. Now, I'm not going to take low ball offers on a lot of stuff, especially if it's moving really fast. I've basically ignored, like, on vintage, unless it's like 10, 15% off list price. I'll accept those offers. But if it's 25% or more, I'm not going to take offers, because it's flying out of my store. So take advantage of the buying 7 or more at 25% off. You'll get that deal. So the speed of which it moves, yes, is most important. And obviously the money, that's very important when you're running a business, making money. So yeah, I 100% agree. Those are the main factors. In a very distant third is the nostalgia for me, because a lot of this stuff I haven't seen since I was young. Like, vintage basketball is not something I've ever really been into, with the exception of when I was a teenager in the mid 90s. And I was a hoop junkie before I was a wrestling junkie. I was a hoop junkie. So in the early to mid 90s, I was big on basketball. And I remember this, I had a bunch of 72, 73 tops. And it wasn't like vintage basketball was not worthless, but damn near worthless in the early to mid 90s. Nope. It kind of rose as time went on. But so that's a little, it's fun. Like, I don't see vintage a lot, so it's new to me. Like, if I bought 13,000 Bowman cards, it's like, oh my God, because I see it all the freaking time. And as I'm going, what I bought last night, in fact, right before I went live, I'm going through a shoebox and it's 2021 Donruss. Do you know how much 2021 Donruss football and basketball I've seen in the last 3-4 years? Because everybody was ripping in 2021. There's just, there's so much of it. It's like, oh my God. 2021 Donruss football. Oh, I mean, I could probably make 1,000 count player lots of some of these. So if I would have kept it all, a lot of stuff is just quarter boxes. Oh, there's a bunny. What are you doing? Hey, bunny. There's a bunny right next to my window, just chilling. I don't know why. It's all rock up there. Where are we at? T206 kid, what's going on? Nice thing about vintage too is that even guys that aren't well known sell. Yeah, that's like Jack Lambert. Like, oh wow, a $20 rookie card. And I know Jack Lambert is not well. He's well known, but I wouldn't consider Jack Lambert a hobby icon. T206 kid sold a 1964 Tom Tresh last night for $450. I have 25 cents into it. He was a career 245 hitter with 150 home runs. Love it. Tracy's in the house. Good morning. Zach says, do you flaunt to Ethan that you've pitched one more ball at Wrigley than he has this calendar year? No, I have not. I have not. Though I did joke in our Cubs group chat, with which Ethan is a part of, I did say that I've stepped on foot on Wrigley Field more than Matt Mervis has this season, because it's a running joke that I think Matt Mervis is a 4A player, and there's a couple of guys in the group that, we love Matt Mervis. It's like, he sucks as a big leaguer. He's a great AAA player. He sucks as a big leaguer. He's a 4A guy. So that's the joke. Troy, good morning. Orlando's here. What's happening? Mr. Archer says, should the Cubs trade for Mason Miller? They need a closer. So if they want to be buyers, they're going to have to move for a closer. Mason Miller is going to be pricey, really pricey. I am concerned with what the price tag is. And I am all about trading prospects, all about it, because go back and look at your favorite team's top 10 prospects from years gone by. And how many of those would you have traded for a top of the line relief pitcher if that was your number one need, or whatever your need would have been at the time? But now you're dealing with a relief pitcher, a young relief pitcher. Is this just a flash in the pan, or is he the next Hall of Fame reliever? We don't know. I think but there's a bigger percentage that he's going to be an average relief pitcher and not even sniff the Hall of Fame than the latter. So are you willing to give up 3 top 100 prospects, which is probably what it's going to take to get him? For a relief pitcher that, is performing really well, and that's a huge item of concern. And are the Cubs even going to be even with that? Look at the offense. The offense sucks. It's like, okay, if you have a reliever, well, is the offense going to score runs to get you to the closer? So I do not envy the front office in Chicago, either side of the city, north side or Chicago, or south side of Chicago. So I don't know. Holmes says, learn from you and won a Goodwill auction. Yes. Came back with a Glavin rookie and an 87 Boggs as PSA 10s from Goodwill. Amazing. Not bad for a $30 cost on 20 pounds of cards. Oh, nice. Nice. Check it out. Goodwill Auctions. Dad Dude from Turier. Some 70s commons are sleepers due to low pop counts. You just need to know what to look for. There are PSA 9s bringing over 2K. Damn. Dan's in the house. Good evening to you. Mikey says you made over like $100 on me from the vintage rookies and stars I bought from you, and I'm excited to get them graded and into the PC, and I thank you. Thank you. Scott, good morning. Zach, Zach's zinging today. Another good point. Bo is the Matt Mervis of vintage dealers. I am. I'm good in the minor leagues, but I might strike out in the bigs. So I bought more cards last night, and so this was my buddy Steve. So little background that I have shared. Steve, I've known Steve since 2017, I think 2018. I had found him on a Craigslist ad, and he mentioned he's still finding collections on Craigslist. So I guess don't sleep on Craigslist. I haven't looked at Craigslist in, probably a year. So I'll have to look at Craigslist again. So that's where I found Steve. Boy, that sounds bad. I found Steve on Craigslist. So Steve was listing his collection, which was a true collection, and probably to date, probably the only like true collection I've bought. I guess you could say the estate sale. Like I ended up buying most of it. If I had the opportunity, I would have bought all of it. But Steve's was the first and so far probably only collection, like true collection I've bought. And it was in it's great because Steve's a little bit older. So he grew up about, his prime time of collecting was about a decade before mine. So a lot of his stuff was late 70s, early 80s. And it was, I'm still selling stuff from that collection, like the 1976 Fleer football stickers, just moving those, like not like crazy, but it seems like I sell 3 or 4 a month. And this is 6 years later. So it was a great collection buy. And COVID hit, 2 years later. And I don't know if it was 2020 or I think it was 2020. I think it was the summer of 2020. I get a text from Steve, and he said, "Hey, you bought my collection." He's like, "I got back into cards, early on COVID. I've got some extra stuff. I've got a bunch of bulk that I don't want. You want to buy it?" So I went over, looked, bought it. We kept in contact. The following year, 2021, I started the Madison Card Show. I reached out. I'm like, hey, I first reached out. I'm like, hey, are you still into cards? Are you still doing cards? Would you want to set up? I'm starting a card show. And he's like, I am still into cards, but I'm not really, I don't want to do a show. I'm like, okay, no problem. I'm like, well, hey, if you find any more bulk, yeah, I'm always buying. So I bought another small lot from him at some point. He had, when we moved in here, bought some. He brought more stuff to me last summer, and so we've kept that connection going. So he texted me last week, and he's like, "Hey, I kind of got out of hand. I bought 5 or 6 bulk lots." So he's like, "Do you want?" I'm like, "Send me some pictures," and he gave me a price, looked through. It's like, okay, I'll have to go through again. Like the last, bulk that I bought, price was similar. Initially looking at the pictures, I'm like, I don't think the value's there. Once I started looking through it, yeah, it was there. In this case, it was pretty much what I expected. There wasn't any hidden gems or anything like that. But I gave him an offer. He accepted. I think it was a great deal for both of us. He had a bunch of, when I went over there, he had a bunch of like junk wax sets, and I saw a couple said not sets. And so my first question was, are these all complete? And he's like, no. He's like, I don't know if, he's like, there's still some stars in there. And I'm like, I just don't want that stuff. So, so I'm like, he's like, yeah, I priced it at a penny a card. And I'm like, I'll pay you a penny a card to keep it. So when I gave him the offer and I said, I don't want any of this. I don't want the junk wax. And then he's like, there was like a Greg Jennings autograph. And I'm like, no, you can keep that. There was a mini helmet, Packers mini helmet. I'm like, you can keep that. There was a 5-row box. He's like, can I keep the 5-row box? There's some neighbor kids. I'm like, oh, absolutely. For the kids? Yeah. So he texted me last night and he's like, the kids came over and brought a bunch of friends. They were having a good time digging through that box. So we all won. So basically what I was probably most interested in was like some of the player lots. There's a lot of Ohtani, Jeter, Trout, Witt, some of those types. A lot of just like commons, but of stars that I can put together, like Rodgers and Mahomes. I've got a buyer for those. Tom Brady, I can lot those up and sell. Other stuff I can lot up and sell. There was this box, which I found interesting. And I'm semi-familiar with Churchman cigarette cards. These are from, I think, 1938. So this is Jack Dempsey. And this is probably the only one that's in here. And there's probably 40 of them that are worth much. These are all I think they're all boxing. I think the Dempsey, I did some comping. Seems like they sell between 20 and 40. Lou Ambers, Georges Carpentier, which I believe was also a wrestler. Carpentier, Dave Crowley, Arthur Danaher, Al Delaney. So these are all cards that Jack Doyle, I think I've heard of him. These are all cards that I've got to look up. And Jim Driscoll, Ben Ford, Larry Gaines, Frank Huff, another Frank Huff, Peter Kane, kind of goofy looking guy, Benny Lynch. Look at this guy. He just looks like a scrapper from the pub. Jock McAvoy. He doesn't look like a jock. He looks scared. Tommy Milligan, Harry Meisler. I don't know. Does anybody know Walter Newzell? Another Walter Newzell, 3 Newzells. Jack Peterson. I don't know if anybody knows Churchman's or these boxing cards. Eddie Phillips. It looked like they're Max Schmeling. Actually, I know him. I'll have to look that one up. I think he's a big name. It looked like they're like $3, like another Max Schmeling. Gene Tunney. That's a name I know. Another Gene Tunney. So those all look up. Paulino Uzcadoon. Where's he from? Italy? I don't know. Doesn't say. A couple of those. But it looks like they're probably most of these Jimmy Walsh, the commons, Jimmy Wild, look like $3. Moss DeYoung. He looks like official, maybe. C.H. Douglas, Pickles, they call him. Pickles. Jack Hart. Victor Berliner. Ted Broadrib. Sam Russell. Johnny Sharp. This guy looks like a mobster. It's Johnny Sharp. Man. Arthur Elvin. Sidney Hulls. And John Harding. So a whole bunch of Churchmans. Again, it looked like they're a couple bucks a card, with the exception of like Dempsey, Tunney, and Schmeling that were in here. There was no Jack Johnson. I know he's in the set. I don't even know what this is. It looks like it's in German. So it's a photo, and then on the back, looks like it's from 1936. Where's Orlando? Do you know what these are? Not sure. Kind of like postcard size. Olympia, 1936. And it's all in German, so I don't even know who the boxers are. They're pretty cool. I mean, looks like 1936 Olympics. And then we've got, I don't know what this is. Oh, the cricketers. And I think these are like dollar cards. Cricket players from 1930. Cricketers 1934. I don't know what year. I don't know. 1930. Maybe it's 1930 and 1934. So these are all cricketers. Cricketers. Here's a lady cyclist from a cycling set. Lady cyclist. Here's Queen Elizabeth, Will's cigarettes. I'm going to look that one up because that one, I'm sure there's some buyers for the Queen Mum. The Coronation, Durbar, India. I don't even know what these. WD and H.O. Will's tobacco. The reign of King George V. Cecil Dixon, radio celebrities. George Baker, radio celebrities. Cora Goffin. These must be like voice actors on radio pre-TV. Vivian Lembellet. Harry Pepper. That's a fun name. Harry Pepper. Let's see. This is safety first. Beware of trams swinging out at corners. I think America needs more trams. No more radio celebrities. Fred Hartley. I think this is more cricketers. Footballers. Oh, old soccer players. S. Cullis of the Wolverhampton Wanderers. E. Dodds from Blackpool. J. Mercer of Everton. Napier, Sheffield. And then finally, flowers. Meadow Crane's Bill. I mean, I just love old cards like this because it's like art. Dan wants me to do the imitation of I kind of did it with Johnny Sharp. Mr. Burns, man. Columbia. Blake Longville, that soccer ball. You got more air in your head than that soccer ball. All right, that's Mr. Burns, man. Oh. Okay, so I'm gonna keep those out and look those up. Where are we at? So that was some fun stuff that was in there. A lot of I pulled up a stack of top-loaded autographs, and Steve's like, I don't know much about football. He's like, there might be some names in here, and I'm going through, and I'm like, I kind of know football, and I've never heard of any of these guys. It's like Wild Card and like the Leaf autos. So when you see like the Leaf autos in Walmart for $13 a box, there's a reason, because you're going to get $1 auto in there if you'll sell it if you're lucky for $1. Scott wants to know if I remember watching Saturday night's main event. I do not. No, I do not ever remember watching Saturday night's main event, not in its original form. I remember when it came back in like the late 90s, mid to late 90s, like around the Attitude Era, but I never watched like the Hogan era Saturday night's main event, at least that I can recall. Good morning, Jody. What's happening? Good morning, Brian. What's going on? Holmes says Bo makes $6 an hour on YouTube, but I have funded his retirement on the estate sale listings, and I thank you for that. Brian says I'm putting together my repacks for my garage sale tomorrow. I think I'm having more fun making them than any kid will have opening them. Really fun to put players I watched growing up in the packs. Mikey says that 75 Maravich photo is a unique picture. I'm not sure I love it or not. Neil says, good morning. I have that 1938 boxing set. Churchman, yeah. Dan's in the house. Hope everybody has a great week. Happy summer. Mr. Burns, man. Cool cards. Thank you, and thank you. So that's what I had. I'm not sure when I'll get around to listing anything from this purchase, from last night's purchase. Still working through 13,000 or so vintage cards still to list. So I listed some 76 football. I think I'm gonna list some basketball. We'll get into some baseball. I'm just I want to diversify the store a little bit. I'm baseball heavy. So now that I've got some vintage football, basketball, try to throw some of that stuff in there as well. So a lot of shipping to do today. We're getting ready. The Madison Card Show is Saturday. This Saturday, a couple days away, 135 tables, 2 ballrooms. Just a reminder, the State Street Ballroom, that third ballroom, will not be open this month, but it'll be back open in July. So come out and see us this Saturday, Sheraton Hotel, John Nolan Drive, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's free admission. So come out and have a fun time. Hit up my eBay store, 99centcards.com. You'll save 25% off at checkout when you buy 7 or more cards at regular price. So check that out, 99centcards.com. Still a lot of great vintage left and still thousands and thousands more to be listed. So keep an eye on it. Make sure you follow, like, whatever you do on eBay to make sure you get those listings. I'm going to have to send out a newsletter just for people that may not be getting those updates to alert them of the vintage. David says those Olympic cards might be from the 1936 Riemsma Olympia sets. I bet you're right. It says Olympia 1936 and German. It's all German. I don't know. So yeah, but that sounds right. That sounds like what it might be. Suddenly, he's Mr. Vintage. Well, sometimes it just falls in your lap. So, all righty. That's what I had for today. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel, 99centcards.com, my eBay store. Have a wonderful Thursday. We'll do it again tomorrow. We skipped out last Friday, so we will do Name That Player. Let's run back vintage. Did we mix it up? I think we mixed it up last week. No, we didn't do it last week. We'll do more vintage. We'll do more vintage tomorrow. I've got plenty of vintage on hand. We'll have some fun. I'll mix some modern. I get some modern. We'll mix modern. We'll do modern and vintage. We won't have it all vintage. We'll kind of level the playing field. So tomorrow, Friday, free for all, 7 a.m. Central. See you then.